Print servers in federal environments create risk and unnecessary complexity. Every new printer, location, or policy adds strain to infrastructure that was never built for today's demands. FedRAMP High Authorized Printer Logic eliminates print servers with a secure cloud-native, zero-trust solution designed for federal IT. With advanced security, centralized control, and simplified management, agencies can modernize print without added burden. See what secure serverless printing looks like. Visit Vasion.com to learn more.
Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Defense agencies have spent years trying to speed up acquisition. SOCOM is targeting a different problem. Many companies with promising technologies never enter the competition at all. A new initiative is designed to make it easier for firms with little government contracting experience to get in front of decision makers. Here to explain how SOF RACER works is Brian Miller, president of BMNT. Brian, thanks for joining me. It's great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
It's an interesting topic here, Special Operations Forces and Acquisition. SOCOM has been experimenting, I guess you might say, with faster acquisition methods for a long time. You're leading a new approach here. What are you trying to get after? What's not working?
You're absolutely right. SOCOM has been the department's pathfinder, if you will, for many years. I could think SoftWorks, technology sprints, OTAs. SOF RACER isn't a correction of that history. I think it's an industrialization of it. And what I mean is the gap was never authority or intent. I think it was standing infrastructure, right? So sprints and challenge-like events are episodic at best. So they're like a bunch of great first dates. A consortium, which SOF RACER is, runs continuously. Problems in, competitions out, repeatedly, with the flywheel speeding this up as we go along if we're doing our job well. So it's like a real relationship now between the Defense Innovation Base and, in this case, SOCOM, but any government organization that would set up something similar. The genuinely new part of this is the operating model. It's a consortium that is purpose-built for the fixed price era, something you and I have talked about in the past. The government pays us and our partner GovSignals a firm fixed price to perform. Companies in the ecosystem pay nothing. There's no membership fee and there's no fee on any awards they get through this consortium. So the bottom line is that this isn't another pilot of something. It's a standing capability that, frankly, BMNT has been training over a decade to deliver.
You used a couple of terms there that I think of as being in conflict with each other. Industrialization of infrastructure, which I think of as being slow, process repeatable. You always get the same thing out at the end. And then you talked about flexible and driving new requirements. Tell me how you reconcile those two concepts.
Oh, absolutely. So the industrialization is a reference to just the discipline we're trying to put in place to a process and the infrastructure that reduces the friction to emerging technology companies, and particularly companies that have probably never worked with the government or even the military before. So there has to be, and that's on us and our partner GovSignals, to create that. It's not going to be frictionless. It can't be, because of the missions that these companies will be focused on, what our client SOCOM is focused on. But we're trying to reduce that friction as much as possible. So the command is sharing in terms that the market can understand what it needs. And the companies, in the simplest and quickest way, can share some solution ideas, and that they can meet in the middle through this platform.
As you are thinking about reaching these, as the press announcement calls, non-traditional companies, what are you finding that they don't know about what they don't know about working with SOCOM?
I think of this as a commentary, if you will, on the larger acquisition problem, which has been talked about in lots of different forums for many years, and we've made a lot of strides there. Authorities isn't the problem anymore, thanks to the great work of policymakers in Congress and the Pentagon, early days of the Defense Innovation Unit. OT's work CSOs work. And SOCOM has used them as well as anyone for years, going back to your first question. What I think has been unresolved is that federal innovation has two halves that don't get built on their own. And every reform over the years has kept fixing kind of the pipe between them rather than either end of that pipe. So one half is supply. Those are the companies. So you asked about what's it like from their perspective. So most of the ones the department wants, I think, have never entered the system. They've never been part of the defense innovation base, if you will. And honestly, dues of consortiums has never really been the barrier. A serious company can afford hundreds or thousands of dollars. But what the old model got wrong is more subtle. It told every company at the door, you are the revenue. And it paid the manager of those consortiums on dollar volume, right? More dollars through the pipe is more fees. Not on whether the right company showed up or whether those companies succeeded in accelerating the government organization's mission, and in this case, SOCOM. And then the other half of that is demand, the problems. So even when the right company shows up, the need is locked in requirements language that is tough for, say, an engineer who's never worked with the military to act on it. Somebody has to play translator. Somebody has to sit with the people who own the problems, rewrite them as something a founder can read and think, yeah, we can solve that. So we know, as BMNT, we know what happens when you fix both halves of that. Plain language problems, fast awards, a front door that doesn't cost anything, right? And SOF RACER is the combination of those things turned into standing infrastructure that the command can use.
Brian Miller is the president of BMNT. Brian, let's dig into that process that you were just describing for a minute, because the consortium that BMNT is leading here replaces traditional proposals with short solution briefs. As you try out that model, what are you seeing happen? How well is the government dealing with that approach?
So far, great. I mean, SOCOM deserves a lot of credit here for weighing all the options and choosing an innovative approach. And our partner, GovSignals, who's the prime on this effort, we're supporting them. They have an AI-first platform, which we believe is going to make this a lot easier for all the stakeholders involved. The government, the program offices at SOCOM, the companies that believe they align to the missions, the technology focus areas that those program offices care about. I think it's going to lead to less friction, more speed, an acceleration of learning, right? We mentioned a couple times in just this conversation that there are companies out there that have never worked with the government, never worked with the military, may not even know off the top of their head how they can align to these missions. And that's kind of our job, to figure out where that fit is and to set up these competitions in such a way that the warfighter, the end user, gets what they need, and the companies can see how they can make a difference and then can more easily compete for those opportunities.
Moving an organization like SOCOM that we already talked about was sort of on the leading edge of rapid acquisition practices to this new model might not be terribly difficult, but how hard would it be, do you think, to move other acquisition functions within the Pentagon or maybe even within other federal agencies to a model like SOF RACER?
I don't think it would be hard. I think it's just a matter of imagination, but that's a little abstract. I think it's a matter of just following this model. And what we intend to do, along with our partners, share, to the extent it's appropriate, how well this consortium is working. And for those other government organizations who might be looking at this like with interest, with curiosity, just follow along and see how well we do. We're pretty confident, but we're going to share evidence along the way. For example, how fast the cycles are between solicitation and award, not the volume of members in the consortium, but how well the mission is addressed over time, how many different technology areas of interest the command feels confident running through this consortium. And there's going to be a lot of things that I think will showcase for other government organizations how this new model might work for them. how they might want to tweak it or customize it for their mission. So I think the proof will be in the pudding. And if we're doing our job well, the evidence will suggest how other organizations could follow SOCOM's lead here and do something similar.
You've got some education sessions coming up for folks who might be interested in participating in the consortium. What are the things you most want them to know about how this will work?
I think just setting expectations appropriately. So from the outset here, explaining to them what SOF RACER is, how it might be different than other consortiums. It's not to say there aren't other good ones out there. This is a way to do a consortium, and we believe it's an innovative one. So we're going to share what it's all about, what it will look like when it's fully up and running, what they can do now in the short term to prepare, and when they can expect to see the first solicitations rolling through it. And then, as we offered publicly, we'll answer as many questions live as we can, and any we don't get to, we'll follow up with the companies. I think in the short term, what companies can do if they're listening is sign up for the wait list. It's govsignals.ai/SOF RACER. That's just where we're gathering a list of companies that are interested in joining the consortium, and they'll get more details and more updates from us in that way.
Brian Miller is the president of BMNT. Brian, thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate hearing more about this innovative solution.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Listen to the Federal Drive on your schedule. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.